Jessica Maldonado here in Austin, Texas at the Alamo Draft House for a huge screening for Dreams Awake. Get this, we're excited because this is a film that's won over 17 film festival awards in different parts of the world. We have people coming out after the screening that we'll be interviewing, so make sure you stay tuned.
I'm not looking star here. It's awesome that all of you could make it. I know that there's people here who've come from as far as LA and Sacramento. We've got Houston, San Antonio, even as far as South Austin. Thanks for joining us. Hey, I-35. Yeah, I know. Where? South Padre Island. Anyone else from Scotland? Island. Okay. Just a few basics before we go into the film. You guys, I think you're all ordering wonderfully well. If you're not familiar with the Alamo, you just need to fill out your piece of paper with what you would like, pop it on the silver bar, and your servers will get you everything that you need. Simple as that. So the film. After the film, I would like everybody to stay seated because there's going to be a Q&A. Q&A with Erin Gray, Tim O'Connor, and Jerry Alden Deal. There's also going to be a chance to see the 3-minute trailer of the next project, which is called One Hand Clapping. One hand clapping. After that, there's also going to be some exit interviews in the lobby with my friend and host, Jessica. If you can give us a few words about the film, tell us what you thought about it, that would be great. You're not obliged, but it would be wonderful. We've got our filmographers here and a wonderful photographer too. So, a little bit about the film, if you're not aware of it. It's the only full feature film to ever have been filmed on Mount Shasta, which is in North Carolina. It's North Carolina, California, so I was thinking of Oregon. It's going so well. It's somewhere west coast. It's between Oregon, I think, somewhere. Yeah, in North California. And it's a film that's done really, really well. It's already got itself 17 festival awards, which I think is worth a round of applause as well. Yeah. Amongst those 17 awards, 2 of them have gone to Erin Gray for Best Actress, one at the Monaco Film Festival, and also one in the UK. Woo! Yeah. And also one has gone for Best Actor to Tim O'Connor at the Colorado Film Festival. Applause all around. I would just like to say that during the film, if you could please switch off your cell phones. We don't want anybody taking selfies and posting them on Facebook or Twitter, going, yeah, look at me, I'm at the Alamo, jealous. Also, if you've got to get through that last level of Candy Crush, wait till after the film. Oh yeah. So ladies and gents, remember that Madonna got chucked out of an Alamo cinema recently. So none of you are exempt. Okay? So any questions? Everybody good? Everybody getting their food and drink? We're all good. So I'm going to give you about 5 more minutes just to get all your food and drinks organised. We'll then show the film, and then we'll have that Q&A, and then we'll show you the 3-minute trailer. So enjoy Dreams Awake. I was going to start a question, but this brave young man has offered himself the first question.
Don't let him ask a question.
Oh, okay.
I care.
Okay. Okay, what's your question, sir?
Just wondering how long it took to make this film.
It depends on what part you're talking about. Actually, the shooting was only 4 weeks. We only went 1 day over, so 24, 25 days of actual shooting. But of course, post-production took us a long time. We had to redo. Yeah, well, we had to redo the music and the sound more than once. It just wasn't coming out right. So yeah, the actual production, hard production, was just 4 weeks. It's just all the other stuff, developing the film, writing it, the whole process was several years. Right. And of
Several
course,
3, color,
do what?
several 3 or 4 years, or what is several?
Well, I started writing the first draft 2005. When it finally got totally for about 5 years. 5 years about right. For everything, from beginning, first idea, from this head right here to that screen. Yeah, about 5 years. Yeah.
Awesome. You were first.
I've got a double question. I'm wondering if this was filmed at Mount Shasta, and also, where did you get the idea for this movie? What was your inspiration?
Trade secret. Actually, it was shot on Mount Shasta. Yeah, everything you saw there was actually on the mountain. We spent several days actually on the mountain. And some of the scenes around the house is another place we have up there. We have 15 acres, so we shot around that area, but everything, yeah, was the Mount Shasta area. As far as where the idea came from, no idea. Actually, it was something that I developed over a period of time, having lived up in Mount Shasta. It really came together. I was sitting on my deck one day, look at the mountain, and it was particularly beautiful that way, very cinematic. And I thought, wow, this would be a really great place to shoot a movie. No movie had ever been shot up there. And so all of a sudden, just the germination of an idea over a period of several months, and I put together an outline. And you know, I know a lot about the mysticism of the mountain, having gone up there and been involved in that and talked to the people. And if you walk around town, everybody talks about the stuff that happened to them on the mountain. You know, the thing about in the movie about the car breaking down and people staying there, if you talk to half the people who live in town, that's how they wound up living there. That's why I actually put it in the movie, because I know people that's happened to. So there was stuff from the actual experience of being on Mount Shasta that was not too hard to add to it once I had to germinate the beginning of the story. So that's basically how it happened over a long period of time.
Cool, who's next? Oh, you're closer.
I'll come over to the top.
Oh, don't let this character be.
Thank you all for such a wonderful movie. We really enjoyed it. I was just wondering, what was the most enjoyable part in the making of the movie for each of you?
You know, there were lots of enjoyable. I mean, every day I couldn't wait to get up. You know, you'd have to prepare. We were shooting 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and then after we shot, I'd have to prepare the next day's shooting. So I'd spend several hours doing that. I was getting 3 or 4 hours sleep for like a month straight a night, but I couldn't wait to get up the next morning because I was ready to go. And actually, for me, the greatest part is working with actors. They are really, I don't know how to put this. In some ways, they're different kind of people. You know, the way that they're comedian-like, how you can how they can do different things, and sometimes just on like this, and watching them. But it's a type of play. There's an innocence, childlike part to doing that. And basically, we're all just in the sandbox playing. So in a way, you're kind of just being kids and creating. You can kind of take that. Isn't that kind of what, for you, it's part of what they enjoy about it. It's part of what I enjoy about it.
Yes, I did too. And the story, particularly the story, certainly deeply involved me and inspired me to joy. And I enjoyed every bit of it. And I did not realize I was up there about 3 weeks. I thought it was about a week. I really had a wonderful time.
Well, the first thing that popped into my head was actually the most enjoyable moment for me was climbing the mountain. I really, really got into that. The other thing was just realizing that my dreams had come true. I tell a story about how I had, before I got offered the part of the film, I had been shooting a film in Romania called Ghouls, and my last shot of the evening as I finished this film was me being eaten alive by ghouls and lying on the cobblestone streets of Romania as my guts spilled out into the stream of and I said to myself, I said to the universe, really? Is this where my acting has taken me? And I just put it out there. I said, please let my next film be something that I truly care about, that means a lot to me, and the spiritual journey that I've been my entire life, and that hopefully that I will be in a film that will reflect these ideas. and I shared this story with Jerry, but literally, after having worked almost 24 hours and then flown another 12 hours, my plane landed in California, and I turned on my phone, and suddenly my phone is ringing, and it's my agent. And he says, you've got an audition. And I went, no. There's no way I'm going on an audition. I can't stand how I smell right at the moment. There's no way I'm going to go to an audition. And he said, oh, you could hear the disappointment in his voice. And I went home, and I get a call back, and they said, no, they really want you. And of course, actors really love it when directors really want you. So and I said, but I haven't read the script. I don't know anything about the story. Oh, no, they'll wait for you. You've got to go. I'm like, wow, gee, they'll wait for me. Gee, okay. And I walked in, and they gave me a scene to read. And it's one of those what I call woo-woo moments of life, where I read this scene, and I was immediately transported to a couple of decades earlier in my life, when I had gone to a flea market. I was on a modeling job, and I had picked up a book off a table, and it turned out to be, the first line was, we fired on Fort Sumter today, and it's sad to know that we're at war with our brothers in the South. And it turned out to be a journal about the Civil War, and it was written by my great-grandmother. So the scene they gave me was me picking up the journals and realizing it was my parents' journals. And both Jerry and everybody in the office, in the room that I just sort of, when I finished the scene, they just went, because I had sort of just put myself back into that time and moment. We all got chills, and that's how I got the part.
Yeah, the casting director and myself, we looked at each other and said, wow, she really nailed that scene. How did she do that? And, so.
Yeah, so the movie was special to me from the first day. I run a company as well, and it was hard for me to leave my office and my company, but there was no way that I was not going to do it. So I found myself working all day on the film, and then working all night on my computer running my company. And there's even one moment where I'm up on the top of the mountain closing a deal with a promoter in Australia. I'm going, this is really a picture of the modern woman, One minute I'm crying and they're fixing my makeup. Next minute I'm closing a deal. And I said, AT&T, we should really use this as a commercial,
So how did this movie change your spiritual thought to the hereafter?
Me? Anybody?
All of you.
All of you. I don't know so much if it changed my thought. It's really kept the question alive. Obviously, I think we've all faced that question of death. And what does that mean? And I've sort of come to a belief that I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that question. So I sort of say, well, how would I like it to be? And I would like it to be a new beginning. And I know with the spiritual work that I've done, I really believe in that we're more spirit than we are matter, and that spirit continues on to another dimension, to another one. And I don't know what it is, or how what it's all about. I haven't remembered yet.
As far as myself, just being in front of audiences, we've done a lot of Q&As, we've been to a lot of film festivals, and I've had a lot of people just pull me aside and just talk about their experiences, things that happened to them, and their beliefs and the systems, and it's really made it stronger, I guess, the ideas that we were trying to communicate, some of them in here. It made it stronger just from the interaction I've had with people in audiences like this for the past year and a half. And so it's actually, hasn't waned a bit. I mean, it's even stronger than it was, if anything.
I particularly discovered, to my amazement, maybe not amazement, but really surprised at how riveting Mount Shasta is to so many people in a very real way, and different perhaps than from one another. No one may not have the same approach to it. And I was, and still am, somewhat overwhelmed with it. And I spent sometimes a day or two off over on a weekend or a Sunday just walking around in the mountains somewhere, or even in town, just into a park, along the creek, and seeing any number of people in groups of maybe 5, 6, or 7 people staring into the forest or down the creek and not making any noise and looking like they're completely occupied. I still feel that the power of that, of the mountain that it has for, so I'm sure for all of us too. And I know that it has somewhat changed me, but I'm not sure in what way. But I sure like it.
It's a great movie. I just want to preface, up here. Preface this, I guess, with the two actors. I have to start the question with beady, 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 beady. Movies that you've been in and you've been around for a long time talk about possibilities. Even Buck Rogers of the 21st century, possibilities, and you've been around so long. Does it still amaze actors to know that something that they were in 20, 30 years ago actually is occurring today, and that you have maybe played the possibilities of tomorrow? What do actors and directors think in those ways?
There's no doubt the fact that I remember in Buck Rogers walking out in a field and flipping over my phone and talking to Buck in the middle of a field going, you know, this is really strange. There's no cord, there's no buttons. I'm looking at him on a phone, which is now a cell phone, and we all have one. I mean, I remember one time walking in an airport and watching, a line of people at Starbucks, and everybody had their phone out, and I went, this is so Buck Rogers. This is so cool. So it's kind of, I think that's what sci-fi does, or science fiction does, is it opens the mind to possibilities. And to have played in a science fiction film, I wasn't a big science fiction person, although I definitely, Ray Bradbury's books were one of the first things that ever woke me up, and seeing Twilight Zone as a kid growing up opened a lot of thoughts in my mind about possibilities and so on. So, yeah, it's cool. And I even go around now and people say, I remember when you were in Buck Rogers, and they share their memories with me. And that is so nice, to hear how, families in our day, or in my day, would gather around the TV together and share a movie, a story with each other. Now everybody's in their separate room, on their separate apparatus. So it's nice to have been a part of that, sharing of stories.
I love the fact that you both work with David Hasselhoff, Knight Rider and Baywatch, but hey, Buck Rogers to David Hasselhoff.
My description of David Hasselhoff is like a golden retriever. He would come to the set every day going, hi, everybody happy? Hey, having a good time today? So cute. He's so cute. So full of enthusiasm.
I saw him for a second back.
Thank you very much for having us to come see it. Jerry, to me, it seemed like a real labor of love, the movie. It seemed very personal. And then at the end, and I don't want to pry, if this is a prying question, just tell me to shut up. But I noticed at the end, it said, in loving memory of Deborah Lynn Deal. And I wondered if there was a story that went with that.
Actually, there is. Before I was married to my previous wife, who's sitting right here, who's executive, my present my future present wife, my future past wife. What dimension are we in now? Mary and I have been friends for a very long time, and she was also friends with my previous wife, who actually several years ago died of cancer. And so she was around a lot when I was struggling in LA trying to make it as a writer, and I was writing lots of screenplays. I was actually getting paid to write screenplays that never got made. And as a writer, that's, it's really cool in the beginning when they start to pay you for stuff. But then when it never gets made, it's really frustrating. And then as you get older, because there's lots of ageism in Hollywood, they think you're too damn old to do it anymore, because everything's geared toward teenagers, 20, 30, that age group. And so that's who they hire to make the creative decisions, a lot of the film production companies and studios. So after you start getting your 40s up to 50, they quit. Anyway, the point is, she was around when I was always struggling around, supporting me in many different ways. And after she, in fact, I was actually going to do a project just before she passed. She had cancer. She had a 4-year battle basically with it. And then a couple years later, Barry and I got together, and then a couple years after that, we did this film, and it just felt very fitting to me because of those rough years of her really supporting me and being involved with me in that way. That this film that I made that would be dedicated to her. So that's basically it. So that's a good question.
So thank you. It was an inspiring movie. I appreciate it. It did make me think about possibilities, and with that is, how did you get the financing to do this movie?
That's always the tricky part. Because actually that's going to segue into the next part of this evening. We're going to show a trailer from our new film, and it's called One Hand Clapping, and we're going to shoot it next spring here in Austin. And we've just started a crowdfunding program, but we're going to wait in a minute. We'll show you that. But to your question, as far as getting funds, it's actually gotten harder and harder over the years. I've watched other filmmakers struggle over the years, living in LA, working on other people's films, and going through the process, and beg, borrow, and steal however you can get your hands on the cash. And actually, that was the big job for my wife, because after I decided I wanted to make a film, I looked at her and I said, you know what, we're going to make a film up here, and I'm putting you in charge. You're the executive producer. You go find that money for me. So to get the process started, we put up some of the money ourselves. Luckily, we've been in a situation where we can do that and get the ball rolling. We brought in a few other people. We did some loans that we eventually paid some of them off. And we did shoot it for under $1 million, so it was shot low budget. You know, there was no big money financer come along, no studio, no nothing. It's actually the big challenge nowadays for filmmakers, if they get it made, is getting it out in the world. There's lots of distribution channels, but the big thing is marketing. All the money you got to spend to make people aware of it, because in some ways this film is not. We've talked to production distribution companies that had some interest in this, but they have no way to market. They had no understanding of how to market this film. So that makes it very difficult for us, because it isn't exactly a mainstream kind of film we can put in the multiplex. You know, it's not like the Avengers flying around blowing stuff up and all that type of film. So it's a certain audience, and trying to find that audience is the most difficult thing for indie filmmakers to do. There are the tools now to make it low budget. There's the tools to put it online, you know, stream it online, video on demand, all that kind of thing. So yeah, money is always the big thing to ever get it anywhere, and that's where we're going to be struggling for our next film, basically. Because every time you got to start at square one, start over, and get that first dollar in so you can get it going. So to tell you that, to give you an answer, there's no real answer. If you're asking, like, where should you get the money for film, however you can find it. You know, it's a very difficult process, and we went through it for a while. In fact, we actually, after production, we went over budget and ran out of money for post, and it took us a while to get that together to actually do post. That's why it took us a couple years to finish post-production on this, because of the money thing.
One of the things that I think is really cool about this film is that Jerry and Barry have been able to get it out to the world. This is not a film that the studios would ever think of doing. Anything to do with spiritual subjects or out of the normal storytelling that they do. These ideas would not ever get out there. And I think it's really wonderful that, you know, like, we've done so well in Egypt, in Pakistan, like, you know, that these ideas are global and that people get it, in whatever country they're in, and that they're all, you know, I just think it's so cool that you've gotten this.
We sold the DVD in 35 countries. I mean, places you would never think of. I was surprised when I was looking on the list. I mean, we were selling stuff in Pakistan. I was thinking, wow, that's really interesting. I mean, you know, there's people interested in this kind of stuff everywhere. It's just the people. It's not the government. It's like,
right. And these are people ideas, ideas to be shared with each other, and at the same time, I think very brings us all together in our minds and in our hearts. And And I think that's what I know I strive for, is to get away from borders and racism and you know, but to help bring us people together. I think my favorite book growing up was a book, Hawaii, by James Michener, and at the end of the book he talks about the golden people, that we all become so married into each other that there are no separate races. We are just human beings with hearts and minds and souls, and we're connected. We are one. And I hope the movie like this helps to bring that together.
Erin for president. No questions there.
I have two questions. For the actors, I want to know, while you were filming the movie, did you experience any spiritual experiences, and what were they? And then for the writer, I was curious, you said that you had these experiences all through life, and you also said that you heard all these stories in Shasta and all this stuff. But I'm curious, as you were writing your drafts, did you have any spiritual experiences that you kind of added to the screenplay?
While I was writing it, actually, in some ways, just writing is sort of a spiritual experience sometimes, with just stuff that comes through you and you process. I did go through I had had several drafts where the screenplay was actually an ensemble piece where the 4 members have equal time, and there was no main character driving the plot. And it wasn't working, though. I sat back and looked at it, and, you know, it's interesting stuff in it, but it just didn't have enough drive to it. So sometimes when I write, I just have to step back and sort of take my, in the old days, take my finger off the pen, but now it's my hands off the keyboard, and it just I just say, okay, all y'all just shut up for a minute, all you characters, and I'm going to see which one of you comes through. And the mother came through real strong, and it was like, it just started writing itself. So you would say maybe something came through me, I don't know. But all of a sudden, the mother became the dominant, strong voice. And once that happened, everything just started just started fitting right together through the whole thing, and it went a lot smoother. And then I took it over to, I have a couple of different people I've used, a script analyst to kind of critique it, to kind of help me through the process. I had this guy named John Rainey, who's really good. He's worked on big studio films. They call him the myth maker because he helps a lot of, you know, stories that have problems. He helps put them together. So I ran it through his filter. He says, "Yeah, this draft's a whole lot better." He said, "I was getting tired of that ensemble piece. There just wasn't enough meat to hang on the bone. You know, you go through all this thing." And that's when we really fleshed out and worked through. So I guess you could say at some level that happened during the writing of it. I think just sometimes being on the mountain is kind of a spiritual experience, just being up there and working on it, and was that for me anyway. And I think even for some of there were people in the cast and the crew that never knew about Mount Shasta, had never been up there, and they went through some kind of transformation because we were ready to leave. They didn't want to leave. They didn't want to go back to L.A. L.A., oh my God. But, you know, they loved working in L.A., but going back to L.A. So half of them said to me, "I've got a new place to go during the summer now that they've never been before." And I know some of them maybe have gone up there since then. So it does have an effect on people. I don't know anybody who hasn't spent any time in Mount Shasta that it doesn't affect in some way like that.
I have one sort of woo-woo moment again, where you saw where I parked my car before my journey. When we came to that location, and all of a sudden, I don't know why, but I was drawn to a place in that pasture, and it was like a dog going after a bone or something. I went straight for it, and Jerry and everybody's calling me, "Erin, where are you going? What are you doing?" I went, "Just give me 5 seconds, I'll be right back." And I went to this particular spot, and I just put my arms up to the heavens, and I felt like I was at home. And I don't know why, just felt very centered, and I needed to stand at this place. And I came back, and both Jerry and Barry looked at me going, "Do you know where you just went?" I went, "No, I was just drawn to it. I just had to go there." And supposedly I had gone directly to a very important, I guess, power point on the mountain that was supposedly where the I guess you say spaceships land, or
That's what some of the
the myth of the mountain.
Right.
And I had gone right to it, not knowing that that was the spot, but I went right to it. And you couldn't stop me. I had to go, and I had to stand right there, and came back. So that was my woo-woo kind of thing.
Shasta's well known for being a place with a lot of UFO activity, I guess. People have spotted all kinds of things up there. So I've never seen a UFO up there, but I guess a lot of other people have.
And one other story is that the last vacation my husband and I took many years ago, we drove up Northern California, and our car broke down in Mount Shasta, and we had literally been driving on I guess the treads on our tires were like ready to fall off, and we didn't know it. And they said we were really lucky that there was an angel on our shoulder that got us to that place, and we were able to get fresh tires and go on. So when they told me the story about how half the town, stops in Mount Shasta because their car breaks down, I went, oh, I was on that trip. I know exactly what you mean. Yes, the weather was great. The weather was fab.
Well, the power, that other people experience from the mountain, and it's quite so real. That has a power in its own. Certainly to me, it deeply affected me, and I remember it when I think of it as though I'm right there all the time. I know that there's something specific about this area that is quite powerful.
This is kind of for you. In the movie, it looks like you're trying to find yourself. And when you're doing that as an actress, do you find yourself doing that in real life as you're doing the acting for that? Do you kind of look back at your childhood? For Erin?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Basically, while you were trying to figure out what happened in your childhood.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever had any childhood experiences where you had to go back and kind of analyze them later in life. I wondered if that kind of led you back to some of those during the movie.
The movie. I think more than anything, the movie reminded me of times that I've had very unusual experiences. When I was a child growing up, my grandparents were what I call the original Bohemians, and spent 3 months living in the woods in silence. And the movie brought that home to me in many ways because as a child of about, I think I was about 8 or 9, I had I don't know if it was an out-of-body experience, but one where my job as a child was to carry the bucket to the cliff and watch the water drip off the moss into the bucket and bring it back to the campsite. And I got lost into a drop of water, and I only remember as a child, I mean, you're talking about months of silence, not talking to anybody. I just sort of transcended into that drop of water and felt that again, that feeling of being at home, and I didn't want to go away, I didn't want to leave. And then all of a sudden I remember sort of waking out of whatever trance-like state I was in because I could smell that the rain was on the horizon and the sun was starting to set and I needed to get back to the campsite. But I've never forgotten that moment, and I kept wanting to go, I want to go back to what that felt like. And there's something about doing this movie that reminded me of that.
Any more? Oh, over.
So your mention of spaceships and aliens on Mount Shasta is very personal to me. When I was 12, I saw a spaceship about where the roof is. I was on a morning paper route, and it was pitch black. And I threw the paper to the front porch, and in midair, it was suddenly broad daylight. And thank God I'd had a buddy spend the night before, so I had a witness with me.
Whoa.
But we both immediately looked up into the sky, and literally that close above us was a spaceship the size of a football field. And for 20 years, we never mentioned it to anyone. I mean, I just said, did you see that? Because it disappeared, just went, was gone. I said, did you see that? And he said, yes. And we didn't speak of it for 20 years. 20 years later, I called him and I said, that really happened, right? And yes. I said, have you told anyone? He said, no. I said, me neither, but I'm going to start.
Where was this, Jerry?
And this was in Austin. This was in North Austin.
Really?
50th and Duval area.
What year was that?
Let's see, that would be about 63. Yeah, about 1963. And I've been to the Alien Museum in Roswell. I've done lots of reading, and of course now the internet is, you could spend the rest of your life and never sleep and just read about spaceships and aliens. But anyway, the point of my talk here is to ask y'all, people you met there, did anyone actually see spaceships up close, any aliens, any?
Not anybody, when we were filming, I have talked to people up there who claim they have, yeah. There's a number of people who claim they've seen stuff on the mountain. And there's several books written by local people where they talk about that. And I think there are UFO researchers that come up there periodically. So that is another thing for that type of activity.
They want to talk about the beam of light.
Well, we did have an interesting experience. The scene where we're shooting Ambrose with the staff, instead of doing that special effects, we actually tried to do it in real with a real light. And we dug a hole in the middle of the night. We dug a big hole. We had a big, powerful light. We stuck the beam shot way up into the, into the sky. I-5 wasn't very far away. We had people pulling off the road and off semis, and it was in the paper the following week. There was a UFO in the area, and we were the ones that had created it. So we actually created a UFO event, unknowingly. We didn't know nothing about it. But apparently there was a guy in a rig that sat there for hours, because we were doing it for like 30 minutes with this thing. So yeah, I mean that's just another take on it. But anyway, but other than that, I don't, haven't had that experience up there. But I've heard of people who have, yes. Are we getting close to when we need to do the trailer thing? What time is it?
Yeah, it's good time. Do you want to talk about one-hand clapping, or just want to show the trailer?
We're going to shoot the trailer. We'll talk a few minutes about that.
Okay.
So we need to queue up the projectionist guy. It's just a 2 to 3 minute trailer. This is about our, a year ago we were here shooting a trailer as a teaser trailer to show people the type of film we want to shoot here. I think we have a few of the people here in the audience that were involved in it. Yeah, stand up whoever was working on the trailer we're getting ready to show. We got our cinematographer, Leighton, we got a couple actors. There's Greg, there's Adam, there's AK. Who else we got over here? Anyway, they were involved in this trailer we're getting ready to see. So, whenever you guys are ready to play it.
Is there something you seek?
Should there be? Oh my God.
Is there something you seek?
You get your butt in your room.
Frank, don't.
Now!
Y'all regret this.
God damn it, you two!
Daddy?
What is the sound? one-handed clapping. You need to find me.
Dylan?
Dad?
Dylan, are you listening?
Wow, all that work came out of that, huh? There were some scenes we actually shot we didn't put in, it didn't quite fit. There's a scene that we had an actual fighting scene where the two of the brothers are really duking it out, and when we tried to do a final edit of this, it just wasn't fitting. We really wanted to put it in there, but you always think, God, we spent all that time and energy on doing this scene, but we had to cut it out. I think if we'd had it in there, you would have been obvious that it didn't quite fit. So it's interesting trying to shoot a trailer to pick out the right scenes before you shoot a film to know whether they're going to play. And obviously, we shot much more bigger pieces of the scenes, and we just used such small pieces. And looking back on it now, there certainly were a couple of the scenes I would have liked to have shot to put in there that had a little more stuff to add to. But I think what we did, I think, people have responded to it. So anyway, the idea is this. This is kind of the news of what's going on with this. Right now, we have a casting director who's sending the script out to several actors in LA. We're talking to 3 different actors right now. One of them we're in negotiations with to play the father. And I can't really say publicly who it is because it hasn't been finalized. And he's an actor that's fairly well known to play the father in this movie. We're negotiating with a couple of the brothers. See, there's 3 brothers and a father. And one of them has a girlfriend, one of them has a wife. So there's about 5 or 6 main anyway, another thing is that we were told recently, within the last few days, that the screenplay One Hand Clapping is going to win an award at the Monaco Film Festival next month. So we're hoping that'll get a little more notice. So wow, guess what? I get to go to Monaco. So, and last year we were actually in Monaco. Erin won a Best Actress award at the film festival, and the film won Independent Spirit Award. So we can go back, and I'd like to because I actually met a couple of people there last year who have some money. So somebody was asking about money. I'm going to have a little conversation with them about that. But on the subject of money, we have actually recently started a crowdfunding program. Go to a website called what is it? I can't even remember. LaunchOurFilm.com. And LaunchOurFilm. We have some info packets we're going to hand out to everybody when they leave, and we have all the information. Anyway, I'm not a salesman or a pitchman, but I'll just tell you to go there, check it out. If you got a few dollars laying around in your pocket or under the mattress, maybe, or you can tell your friends about it. Everybody's got a network of friends. Shoot it emails or Facebook, whatever people do. And we're hoping that we get the money by next February because we're going to start prepping then about. Let's see. The plan is to start shooting the 1st of April. So we're going to have a five-week shoot, but we're going to have a 6-week prep, which will start about mid-February. So I'm planning on coming to Austin beginning of February to get this thing going. So we have about 3 more months to get. We have some of the funding, part of the money raised. We're raising more money through crowdfunding. We're going to try to work on some other, people who say they have money, but we'll see. There's a thing on HBO now about getting money. What's it called? Like you were telling me about. What's it called? That HBO movie. There's a documentary about making. Seduced and Abandoned. It's about Alec Baldwin trying to raise money. He's at Cannes Film Festival, and it's an hour-and-a-half documentary. And if you watch that thing, you'll see how crazy it is trying to find money out there. But anyway, that's the process. We're in a couple modes. We're in a fundraising mode, and we're also trying to get our cast to put all that together. And we hope to have everything wrapped up by the beginning of February, so we can all come back here and see all of you again. We're come back and shoot the film. Erin Gray is one of the producers on the film. She's helping us. She actually turned us on to the casting director we So that helped, and actually,
And
yeah,
yes, I
yes.
cast him, and I cast my husband in that last film, Gary, too.
Yes, yes, she was very involved in that. That's why, I got to have this lady around. But anyway, she helped bring Tim aboard, and Gary Graham in Dreams Awake, and she's going to help out with one hand clapping. And so anyway, I wanted to come back to Austin because it's where I got started before I went out to LA in this whole crazy film business. And we did, Dreams Awake. So, you know what? I got this film, I got this script, one hand clapping. I've had it rolling around for years. It actually has been optioned 3 different times by 3 different production companies in LA. And at the end, they couldn't. In fact, Miramax was actually interested at one point. I actually talked to the head of production. We were talking about it, and he was doing coverage on the script. And finally, he says to me, there's too much stuff about death in this movie. And the big film that was really big at that point was Gangs of New York. And I said, you know what? I think it was about 100 people that died in that film. He said, yeah, but that's a popcorn movie. It's like death is fantasy. We don't want to deal with death as a reality. I go, oh, so that's what it's really about. It was interesting to hear somebody say that, in a very positioned place who makes decisions about these things. And that's their attitude pretty much about it.
So if I can just, excuse, we're running out of time here. So Jessica's going to be doing some little interviews in the lobby. We just want to get some kind of vox pops, just some comments about the film. You don't all have to do it.
Yes, you can if you want.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you can. She's great. She doesn't bite very much. So she'll be in the lobby if you could all go and speak to her. I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys for hosting us here, and I'm sure you all enjoyed the film. So thanks to Erin, to Tim, and to Jerry.
I want to thank the people here that really helped. I particularly want to thank my brother Jay, who actually, he's the reason to put this whole thing together. He had help though. A couple of his sons helped. His wife already helped. It was a family thing. Of course, I want to thank Tim and Erin for being here. And I want to thank Jill and my mom for being here. Oh, thanks, Mom. My dad, who's a journalist in the state for a very long time, helped get some of the media together here. Jill, I don't know where she's here. Is she on the way? Is she here? Jill here? And I have some old friends here I haven't seen in quite a while. It's really great to see all you guys. Maybe we'll get to catch up. People I haven't seen in 20, 30, maybe 35, 40 years. There's a guy up there I don't think I've seen in 40 years. Good to see you guys. 35, maybe, something like that. There's a guy here that I went to high school with that I barely remember. I think I sort of remember. Are you still here? Brooke? Is Brooke still here? He already left. Anyway, thank all of you for coming. I know there's lots of different things you can be spending your time with, but I'm glad you decided to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
What you guys thought about the film and how you felt.
I really liked it. I really especially liked the part where Erin's character was trying to find herself and discover what went on in her childhood. And I think it's going to be really great for young kids because there's so much going on in their lives, and it might help them see how to figure out their problems and try to discover themselves.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. And how about you in terms of, the actors? How did you feel about the film itself?
I loved it. I was actually speaking with Erin beforehand about how vague everything was about the film, and she was telling me how the filmmakers really didn't want anything given away, and they wanted the audience to kind of go on the journey with her. And I really felt that everything unfolded and everything, like it was a mystery. And it was definitely a spiritual journey.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. At the screening of Dreams Awake, and we have a gentleman here who has just watched the film. Tell us a little bit about what you thought about the film, sir.
It was a great inspirational film for the whole family. Very enjoyable.
Excellent. And in terms of the actors, we have a great cast. What did you think about all the actors in the film?
Great acting. Tim O'Connor, he's his great self that he usually is. He's a great actor.
What you thought about it?
Well, I really liked the film, being close to the producer and just going up there a lot. It just kind of brings a feeling of a home almost watching it.
So you had an opportunity to go to California and actually see the mountain?
Yes, I was actually on set for one of the scenes as well, so it was really nice to kind of experience that once again.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. About the film, how did you feel?
I loved it. I did. When Hope realized that Ambrose was her father, it almost made me cry.
Absolutely. So very emotional?
Yes, very spiritual, and there was a feel to it that was very calming.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. I ask you what you thought about the movie. How did you feel emotionally? And in terms of the actors, what did you feel about the acting? I know that's a lot.
Oh, the acting was great. I grew up on Buck Rogers, 21st Century, so I knew Aaron and Tim, and I thought that it was outstanding. Also, one thing that really people don't understand about this movie is a veteran from Iraq and all that the inspiration of this movie transcends. And I think that all the soldiers and the airmen overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq should probably see it, give them a great feeling of home, of possibilities. And I think that is where this movie took me. Was I just felt like, wow, if I had this, you wouldn't be so scared. Right. You wouldn't, just the fear over there. And so I thought the acting was great. The music was very good. Very good. I love the background music. It's very inspirational.
Absolutely. Well, we're certainly glad to see that it affected you. I just had an opportunity to watch, so tell us what you thought about the movie.
I thought it was amazing. The fact that they can go to this real place, this mountain in Northern California, yes, and where people, find themselves and really get to experience and explore their spirituality is like really cool that they could bring it to everyone.
Awesome. So it affected you emotionally, which is what I'm sure he wanted. How about you, sir?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It was a very spiritual, uplifting movie. It was not what I expected at all, and it was surprisingly good. Plus, I love Erin Gray from like 30 years ago.
Awesome.
Well, should I not say? It was more like 10 years ago. It wasn't 30, but yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, she's great. So it was nice to see her and Tim O'Connor together in the movie again, too.
Back together again.
Back together again.
Also, real quick before you guys head out, the trailer that you had an opportunity to see, how did you feel about the one-hand clapping trailer? Are you interested in seeing it?
Oh yeah, that looks really, really good. That looks like a great movie. It's going to be something special.
Awesome.
It's got the same sort of vibe, that sort of spiritual vibe. It really looks great.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Take care. We're here at the screening of Dreams Awake. Super excited. Everybody's kind of coming out and telling us what they thought about the movie. Sir, talk to me about what you thought.
I enjoyed it. It was very well done. And what's nice about this movie is that when the lights come up, the movie's not over.
That's right.
It's thought-provoking. And that's refreshing in today's world. So
Absolutely.
I think thumbs up for Jerry. I think it's very
Absolutely. So when you saw the trailer, you had an opportunity to see the next movie, One Hand Clapping. What did you think about the trailer, and are you excited to see the next movie?
Yeah, I'd like to see that one too, because it takes that same step of it's going to be something we're going to think about. It's not going to be one of these high-dollar movies that there's a lot of guns and blowing up, and as soon as the doors are closed, it's out of your mind. His movies seem like they stay with you, and that's cool. I like that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate it. Talk to me about how you feel. I know a lot of people were super excited. What did you think about the movie?
I was completely taken aback. I had no idea that that's the direction the movie went in, and it brings back a lot of feelings. I've heard a lot of people say it too, because it just took such a surprising turn.
Right. So it touched your heart in a way it kind of, set some emotions off?
Yes, it did a lot. I mean, and a lot of people have been commenting on that fact.
Awesome. Well, we had an opportunity to watch a trailer at the end of the film for One Hand Clapping. How did you feel about that trailer, and will you be looking forward to the movie next year?
Yes, I will. Okay. I already started getting interested in that one, awesome, just from watching this one.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out. Talk to me, ladies.
I thought it was beautiful, and I actually felt pretty inspired. Not only do I like mountains for some weird reason,
right,
but I don't know, I really liked how it was written, especially, I don't remember his name, but the older man, the father.
Yes.
He had this one monologue towards the end, and everything he was saying, I don't know, it just really inspired me just for life in general, and made me really happy. Awesome. So when I come out of a movie and I feel something other than just oh, that was okay, and I feel like I can take something from that and then tell my friends, I know that's when I really know that something's special.
Sure, so it touched you emotionally.
Oh, of course. I mean, I didn't cry, but I kind of wanted to.
After watching the movie, it's an experience. It takes you through a journey. It really touched me, and I'm sure it will touch anyone in places it'll bring out things that you have questions about, that you're going through in your journey, and I think it's for all ages, honestly. And if you've ever read anything like The Alchemist or anything like that, you definitely have to see this movie. It's a must-see. It's incredible. I think through the different characters, you'll relate to one of them, definitely, and you have to see this movie. It was incredible.
Excellent. Thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time out. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Dreams Awake screening was a huge success. Everybody's super excited about it. Now, here's the deal. Next year, here in Austin, Texas, the same director, Jerry Deal, is going to be bringing you a brand new movie. It's all about the movie called One Hand Clapping. We're super excited about it. Make sure you stay tuned for more information. Thanks so much for joining us.